Hello everyone, it's Larry. This is a video of how I made this LEGO model of Gordon from Thomas & Friends, 4 studs wide. Given I've only made smaller steam engines from Thomas, for a long time now an unbelievable amount of people have been wondering how I would tackle a big engine in this scale. I and many others have had the idea of using LEGO's regular train wheels as the large wheels on the big engines, and having the tram wheels I normally use as small wheels. But the real brainwave came with realising how I could do the largest part, the boiler. This came about after I made my Cherry Steamer model years ago, where I built a 3-wide smoke box on a 4-wide base, using these curved slope pieces. I felt that if I just carried on the smoke box as the boiler, it would scale very well to be a big engine's boiler, compared to the 2-wide boilers of my small engines. Also, apparently I'd already made this technique for a boiler 2 years ago, but completely forgot. As for the face, I got very lucky. You may know that with LEGO building, you might have to pray to the LEGO gods, as sometimes a piece you would assume you could easily acquire was never produced in that colour and does not exist, which can be very frustrating. However, LEGO have produced a round tile 3 studs wide, and in grey too. I felt very lucky about this, as I don't know how I'd be able to do big engine faces otherwise. The LEGO gods truly were on my side for this build, because I'd need these somewhat rare slope pieces in dark azure, a somewhat rare shade of blue that I used for Thomas and Edward. And they exist! Amazing! Well, I just about thought I had this build in the bag, so about a year ago, I made this. And there was a lot I was happy with here. I really wanted these black parts at the front to be physical. However, with nothing to hold them in, they would just fall out. I hastily threw in the wheels and a tender to see how it would all look. And as you can see here, I was already experimenting with round wheel arches instead of the triangular cheese slopes, and I tried to find some way of representing his pistons. This stage of the build was the image that I'd blurred for the April Fool's video, which I know some people were killing to see unblurred, so here it is! But the thing is, with virtual LEGO, it's very easy to make something look plausible, but the moment this build would come into contact with real-life physics, it would absolutely crumble apart. So many pieces aren't held together here, especially the wheels, which would require me to redesign a lot of this, along with the fact that I didn't really get all his proportions right. So I went through the process of redesigning Gordon, and I eventually arrived at this version. It was a little longer than I'd have liked, but this was the absolute minimum length to fit all of these wheels in, so they could actually be built and move around. I was happy with how this rod design looked, using a minifigure hand here. This design for the pistons is really not ideal, however I really just couldn't figure out anything else that would actually be buildable. Sadly, pieces to build it like this don't exist in the colour. I used these pieces to make the running board flat on the sides, like with Edward. And I made all of the wheel arches round. The tender changed a lot. There was no real way to perfectly recreate it, so I just kept iterating until I was happy enough with how it looked. I kept in mind that it would look a lot better with pinstriping too. As for this part, I knew it didn't look great, so I made many different versions. Sadly, this is impossible to build, this would be more annoying to look at for me, and this just looks bad. So in the end I decided this is the least bad version. And that's how I ended up with this overall design. Despite its flaws, I couldn't figure out buildable ways of improving it, so I deemed it finished. And I ordered the pieces from Bricklink. A part I don't normally show in these videos is the tedious process of sorting Bricklink orders. As it makes it cost effective, I order multiple builds at once, and end up having to sort a lot of pieces. What you're watching right now is me sorting one of 8 orders. I not only need to sort them into the individual builds I'll be using them for, but I need to check to make sure I was sent every single piece I ordered. Bricklink sellers are people, and people do make mistakes, especially with rarer colours, and I can't blame them, but it is annoying when it happens. Luckily though, the sellers later sent me the correct pieces, and I had the full inventory. But, before I started building properly, I thought it would be wise to test his wheels, because I didn't want to discover way too late that it can't do turns, which I have a history of doing. And it's just as well I chose to do this, because, yeah, my suspicions were correct. Which is incredibly annoying, because I'm a little clueless when it comes to this stuff, to be honest. But I just had to find a solution through trial and error. Firstly, I made sure that the 3 large wheels could do turns themselves, as I'd feared they might not be able to. And they were fine, just about. But any additional wheels would break it. I tried a swivel point rather than a bogey, which seemed more promising, but still didn't work. I removed a set of wheels and it seemed to be working okay, but I wasn't convinced. Anyway, this was all without the tender. I needed to test it with that as well. And well, it just wasn't having it. Honestly, this was a huge low point for me. I had limited time to film and I wanted this video to be finished so much that this was just ticking me off. But I had a break and thought, well, how do real trains do it? Chains, of course! It turned out it was the coupling that messed up the tender, and just connecting it with a Lego chain piece made it move freely and fine. But as for the front, I needed a real solution, not for it to work just barely, with one missing wheel. Upon closer inspection, I realised the flange of the small wheels was the problem. I looked for alternative small wheels, and these ones from a Lego Creator Train were the same size but with no flange. Admittedly, they didn't always cling onto the track, but they had no problem doing any of the turns, and my priority here was definitely for it to function. So, satisfied with this, I acquired small wheels in black, and it was finally building time. Here he is without any stickers. Adding stickers was quite a bit different this time. This is the first model I've made after acquiring a sticker cutter, as some people have suggested, and now I can't go back. Another new thing is that I'm adding colour to the wheels. I've had many people say I should just paint the wheels when I can't buy them in the right colour. And yes, you can get small wheels in blue, but only in medium azure, which is the wrong shade of blue. I've been wary of painting wheels as I'm nervous about matching the colour correctly, not wasting money if I buy the wrong shade, and not messing up the paint job, as that's not easy to undo. However, someone else suggested I use sticky back vinyl, like with my stickers, and that was a great idea. Thank you for that. I got to work designing stickers for Gordon's wheels, and for some of my other engines. You'll see more of that in another video. After they were cut, I had to clean them up a bit, and apply the adhesive vinyl to the wheel pieces. I'm very happy with how the blue wheels look on him. I wasn't sure on the tender wheel stickers. I made a different design that worked better alongside the thinner spoked wheel stickers on the front. Eventually I settled on these, but I made this decision quite late, so you might spot both versions in this video. I designed and cut the yellow parts, then I designed the red parts. This was a much more involved process. It took me a while to design everything. But when the time came for them to all be cut, it was very satisfying, and everything came out perfectly. I applied the yellow number stickers to the slightly bigger red ones. And I began stickering the tender. Then it was time to sticker the front. I also cut some miscellaneous black stickers off camera. With almost all of the stickers complete, it was time for the face. I had illustrated his face earlier, and decided to draw multiple expressions too. I printed these on sticky back paper. Cutting a perfect circle manually was always such a difficulty, and it never came out perfectly. But this time, the machine could do it. Well, it could if it wasn't stupid. Luckily, I figured this would happen, and I had multiple prints prepared. I swear Crycut deliberately makes it a pain in the bum to line up printed stickers perfectly, but with enough trial and error, I brute forced a successful test cut. And I ran it again on a fresh copy. And that's pretty much perfect. I applied the stickers to the face pieces, and went around the white edges with a pencil. And with that, Gordon was complete. Here he is with the other engines. He is about the same length as Thomas and Edward combined. Here he is on the tracks. Surprise! I also made the express coaches. I'll make a video on how I made them too. And now it's time for something a little special. Enjoy. Thomas pulled into the station where Gordon was waiting. "Hurry up, you," said Gordon. "Hurry yourself," replied Thomas. Gordon began making his plan. "Yes," said Gordon, "I will." And almost before the coaches had stopped moving, Gordon reversed quickly and was coupled to the train. "Get in quickly, please," he whistled. Thomas usually pushed behind the big trains to help them start, but he was always uncoupled first. This time Gordon started so quickly they forgot to uncouple Thomas. Gordon's chance had come. Come on, puffed Gordon to the coaches. The train went faster and faster. Too fast for Thomas. He wanted to stop, but he couldn't. Stop! Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and maybe check out my other stuff. As many of you have suggested, I've tried motorizing Gordon, but it hasn't worked just yet. The instructions for him are on Rebrickable and on my Patreon, where you can download all instructions I've made, vote for what's next, and see exclusive updates. Thanks so much to all my patrons for keeping the channel chugging along. And thanks for watching. Ta-ta for now.